Hello everyone, welcome to the first tutorial that we're making. We're going to be working on Megaman now, and we're using a very few colors. We're keeping it simple. I'm actually missing one here that I add later on, but you only need one blue for the accents and then another one for the main parts of his body. Some red for the tip of the gun and yellow to highlight the accents on the side of the Mega Buster. So we're going to start off with applying some flat colors all over the character, and this one doesn't have to be perfect. It's just so you can identify the areas where each color is gonna go. There's no details going on, which is literally coloring within the lines. Now we're gonna switch to the darker color, and we're gonna do the other areas of Megaman, because his boots tend to be darker than the suit that he wears, I guess. Same thing with the Mega Buster, so all his extremities have a darker blue. And we'll apply those just as we did before. Just a flat layer of color, no shadows, no details. Just a simple flat layer of color. So fill it up, and we can move on. Yep, there you go, the accents for the gun. The face, I started off with that yellowish color, but I then get a bit of pink, a lighter pink, just so I can offset the amount of pink in his face, because nobody has a yellow face. I mean, the yellow his face. Nobody has a yellow face. Now we're gonna use the colors again that we used, same for each part, but we're gonna apply a heavier layer of pigment so that it can work as a shadow for us when we water it. This is gonna be a bit more precise, but it's only applied to the edges where the light doesn't shine. So anything that's facing away from the light source, which in this case it comes from the top right, would be a bit darker than things that are facing towards the light source. It should be easy because the line work is already laid out for us. So it's just a matter of identifying where the light comes from, and you just color the opposite direction. You can pick where you want to put it. Like I said, mine just is a bit on the top right. I'm going over it one more time so I can cover all the white spots that I might have left. And I'm applying a bit more pink on the face. And now we're ready to add water. For the water, make sure that your brush is not soaked in water, just get enough. And you'll apply it from the dark side towards the light. And the reason for that is because watercolor pencil allows you to move the pigment once you wet it. So if you go from the light to the dark, we'll thin out the shadow area and make a dark line at the edge. So we don't want to do that. So we want to move the pigment from the dark to the light, and it gives you a smoother gradient. And that's how we're going to do it for the entire piece. And pardon the shakiness of the camera. So let's speed it up a bit so we can move forward, always from dark to light in every area, regardless of what color we use. I like to jump around the picture just because you can color however you want. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that if you let the water dry midway through any section, when you complete it, you may run the risk of leaving a hard edge. That's why move as quick as you can. Just no rush, but definitely a little bit more speed than when you do dry colors. And like I said before, always from dark to light, just because you're going to move some of the pigment around. Alright, now we're done with the water face for the most part. The collar, I almost forgot it. And I'm going to do the yellow and the red part of the Mega Buster. Water usually makes the hue of the pigment pop out, so that's why you have to color it. To finish it off, we're going to use a ballpoint pen. These you can find them at any supermarket, grocery store, whatever. Here they're about like $2 for a pack of 10 or so. But ballpoint pens are really flexible. You can get different line weights just by how much pressure you apply. We're going to start off with the outline of his body. I just pick a side that makes me more comfortable, so that's why I picked the back, which is a more or less straight line. And you're going to go around the entire body, making sure that the heavier lines lie where the shadow is. So you can always emphasize shadows with your line weight. You didn't have to ink it if you didn't want to. I just like that for my style of art. So I love ink the characters after I'm done coloring them. It just makes him pop a bit more, and it gives him that storybook look to him. But you do as much as you can, or as much as you want rather. So use the pen to go around to bring out all the details that you want to showcase. Like for example, I don't go in the middle, but I do want to highlight the yellow box. And we keep going around. I'll just speed up the process so you can see everything. Since it's a tutorial, usually I'll cut through. But here you can see how I go around the actual illustration and add detail. And like I said, just jump around and have fun. Pick a side that makes you have more fun and keep going. And eventually you'll cover it all. The hand took me a while to draw in the sketch just because it came out weird with this perspective. But at the end I was happy with it. We keep going. Oh, usually when two things collide, you have to account for contact shadows. So where the leg touches the the left side, like the left foot that's bent backwards, that needs a bit darker just because of the contact shadow. The layers on his shoe or boot, whatever he's wearing, on the bottom, those are also contact shadows because they have different layers. Underneath his face also, because it casts a shadow on his neck. There's no light hitting it. We keep going, and always respect your light source. Now we're going to add some shading with the actual pen. You don't have to do it. You could have called it quits round and it's still good. But I like to add shadows with a bit of cross hatching. You don't have to put too much pressure, just a flick of your wrist will be enough. So upwards wrist motion, perfect. And only around the areas where we've previously designated shadows with a heavier layer of color that we applied. Again, accounting for the head being above the collar, it's a bit darker than the rest of the body. The head has a bigger shape than the actual neck, so it's a bit wider, so also it falls a bit on the shoulders. I'm going to keep going around the body, doing the same thing, just the lines, the flick of the wrist. And you do that everywhere where the shadows would have been, which again, we already designated it with the heavier layer of color that we put before. So it's just a matter of going over them to accentuate them a bit more. And that's kind of like the basic of cross hatching, just little flicks of your wrist will help you make little line marks. If you want to darken them, you can go over them again, but in the opposite direction. So if you're flicking your wrist towards the right, you can do it towards the left, and it'll give you a darker shadow. And we're about to finish the shading. I'm pretty happy with it came out overall. I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't too used to drawing Megaman, but he came out nice. Here I'm doing the opposite of before, so we can change the shadow a bit. Adding some to the underarm because there's no direct light to it. And little details on the helmet. Fixing some shadows here and there. And you can spend as much time as you want to. You don't have to spend all day. However much time you want to spend on it, it's going to be good. But that's it. That's all there is to coloring Megaman with watercolor and lining with a ballpoint pen. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next time for the new tutorial. We'll be coloring our good old plumber Mario. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, guys.